Let's go through the budgeting system. And what I want to do here is demonstrate to you the Copland budgeting system. This is just a typical couple, and if you're single, in principle, these same principles apply. Just for people that are single, I understand there's a downside. You only have one income. But there's an upside to being single. What do you think that is? Financially, the upside, there's only one spender. One spender. So if you're single, you control it. So if you overspend, you're the one responsible. And I'll talk about situation, a real tough case study right at the end where one spouse spends irresponsibly and what it does to the finances and to the marriage. So here we go. This is the Copland budgeting system. This is form number 1. This is just some approximate numbers for a typical couple that we see. They got $1,000 in their savings account. They have $10,000 in some investments at the personal level. They have a personal residence that's worth $500,000. I'm finding I'm having to raise that number every year, it seems. Although if I go to small town Ontario, I can use $300,000. But it's in the city here, even in the burbs, you got $500,000 you got to spend, sometimes more. They've got an RSP. He's got $50,000. She's got $20,000. And here's what's important to note. They've run up their credit cards again. They got $15,000 in total on several credit cards. By the way, when the credit card companies give you a credit card, whether you're a student or whether you're a new Canadian or whether you're an old Canadian, when they give you a credit card and offer it to you, do you think they're doing that to help you for your benefit? No. They want to get you. They know a couple of things. They know the average person will spend 25% more with a credit card, and they get all the retailer fees. And they also know that lots of people do not pay their credit cards off each month, so they can earn the 18 to 28%. If you and I, if we could all make 18 to 28% on our RSPs, we'd be able to retire in no time. So this couple, they've got credit card debt of $15,000. They got a personal loan of $30,000. Got a personal line of credit of $50,000. Now, when I see a balance sheet like this, assets and liabilities, I can pretty well tell what's happened. What they've done is they've been running the credit cards up, and then they took out the personal loan. Probably they've done it twice now over the last several years. They took out the personal line of credit on their home, and they paid off the credit cards. That saves interest, which is fine, but they continued with their bad habits of spending more than they're making, so the credit cards just got rung up. And then recently, when they run out the credit cards, they couldn't get the money from the bank, so they went to mom and dad and they got a personal loan. It is sad when adults of even 30 and up have to go to mom and dad for money, but it happens. I see them 50, 60, they're going to mom and dad. And then this couple has a mortgage of $300,000. Typical situation I've seen. What would you think if I told you they bought their house 20 years ago for $200,000? I see that all the time. The real estate in this city has gone way up since 1995. And lots of people have debt on their home between their mortgage and their personal line of credit that is greater than what they paid for the home. The house should be paid for by now. They're allowing the equity in their home to finance a lifestyle they cannot afford. That's not God's way. You know that saying, you're richer than you think? That advertisement, we won't mention the firm. You're not richer than you think. You can borrow more than you think, because the value of real estate has gone up so much in this city. And so people have the equity. So that's form number 2. So on the surface, it looks good. They got some equity, but all of it's come from their home, and they have a significant cash flow problem. And they've been spending more than they're making. Now, here's their income. The husband works full-time. He makes $4,200 a month after tax. She works part-time. It's $1,300 after tax, $5,500 after tax. That's pretty common for the GTA, for a couple. Here's their monthly expenses. Now, the non-monthly expense of planning is really important, because when people do their budget, they often forget about these things. So house maintenance, you need to allow something for that. It may not all happen at once, but $1,800 a month is what they've allowed for. The property taxes $1,800 a year. Thank you. $3,600 a year. That's $300 a month. And you can see some things they're not allowing for. Auto replacement, they should be. Who thinks their automobile is going to last forever? It's not going to last, right? You need to save for your automobile. And most people have a car loan all of their life. And you know, there's no need for that. If you just bought a new car, and let's say it's 3 years old, Always, if you buy a new car, never have a car loan payment of more than 5 years max, ideally 3 or 4 if you can handle it, but let's say it's 5. So you got a car that's 3 years into the loan, pay it off over the next 2 years. Don't buy a new car. Keep that car for 10, 12, 14 years, and then start saving over the next 5 years for your next car so you have some cash and you can buy your next car for cash. You don't have a car loan all your life. Especially if one spouse is out of work or you get to retirement, the last thing you want is debt. So auto repairs and maintenance, they're allowing $2,400 a year. That's $200 a month. You can see the rest of them, auto insurance, what they're allowing for. Vacation, they're putting an allowance in. And so they need to set aside, in this couple, at least $1,200 a month for these non-monthly expenses. Most people don't do that, and that's why they run into trouble. They haven't saved. What happens when people don't save for their vacation that they plan to take and they committed to take with their kids? And they promise their spouse. Where's it go? It goes on the credit card. Absolutely. So form number 6 is just how to keep track of your saving. I want to go to form number 7. This is a key form. This couple is giving $200 a month. They used to tithe, but they can't tithe anymore because they ran up all these debts. Their mortgage payment's $1,300. Their property taxes $300. Electricity, etc. You go down here. This is one that's surprisingly big now. Cell phones, internet, TV, all this stuff, this stuff. $350 a month. That tends to be a bigger number, much bigger than it used to be. $800 a month in food. Gas and oil on their car. They got 2 cars. It's $400 a month. They're doing the minimum payment on their credit cards. Do you think that's wise, minimum payment on the credit cards?
You never pay it off as long as you pay.
Exactly. You never pay off. And the credit card companies love it because they make lots of money on you. And that's a warning sign. I would say this, if it comes to the end of the month and you don't have enough money to pay your full credit card, it is better to pay the minimum balance because at least you retain your credit rating. But it's also a red flag. Take that credit card, throw it in the drawer, and don't take it with you. Do something that prevents you from running up credit in future till you get that paid off. Most people don't do that. Going here, they're spending, they didn't realize this, but after they track their expenses, they're spending $350 a month eating out. The vacation portion on a monthly basis, $175. Sports, gym, clothing, $300. $290 for her and $10 for him. Actually, we won't even give him the $10. He doesn't need it, right? Give him nothing. You better allow something for the kids, though. So, notice there's no tool budget here, though. That's where the men struggle with. Healthcare, insurance. And so here's the issue. Often when we sit down with people and they've tracked their expenses, we see this almost every time. They're running a deficit. They're spending more than they're making, and that explains why their debt's been accumulating for so many years. Most people don't really understand that. They don't get that. And they don't understand how serious that is. Managing your monthly cash flow is really critical. If you don't get that right, you're gonna end up accumulating debt. You're not going to be able to save for future needs. And in due course, something's going to happen that'll cause real serious financial problems. One spouse could lose their job. Interest rates could go up. Or even I see people, they get up to retirement and they still got car loans and mortgages and all this kind of stuff. And I've sat down with so many people, well, I'm 61, I'm going to retire at 65 because that's the right time to retire. And I have to tell them, you're going to be working for another 15, 20 years. If you retire, you're in serious trouble. Either that or you're going to sell your house and downsize, move to a small town. Nothing wrong with that. And you're going to have to change your lifestyle completely. Well, our kids are here in the GTA. We don't want to do that. Well, you gotta make some changes. So this is the big key. So I want you to give me some help with this couple. Where would you? You're now their financial counselor. What would you say that what do they need to deal with? Raise your hand and give us your comments. What do they? You have to come quick. Got a comment here?
Oh, the eating out, $350 a month.
You guys are tough. I'm going to say 40. I'm not as tough as you guys. They get to eat out once a month. Okay. And they got to be careful where they eat. Go ahead.
Get rid of the sports gym because they can go for walks.
Agreed 100%. Yep. You can work out at home. Just get a pair of track shoes.
Try to cut down the internet and the TV and the phone bills.
I agree. Look for some deals. Also, if you have high-speed internet and a computer, most of the time, a lot of people, you don't even need TV. You don't even need cable TV. So let's say we can cut that and find a special deal, cut it down to $150. Okay, that's good. Anything else? What else? That's an excellent point. Do they need 2 cars? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to assume that they don't need 2 cars, because that's a place you can save a lot of money. And so if they don't need 2 cars, the auto insurance now is cut in half. The repairs and maintenance will go down, but it won't go down exactly in half, but it'll go down somewhat. So you got that. And if they have 1 car instead of 2, typically, well, go back to Form 5, their gas bill on their car will drop. Not exactly by half, but it'll drop a fair bit. Going from 2 cars to 1 can save a lot of money. Any other ideas?
This may be counterintuitive. However, I believe that increasing your giving, really setting the foundation of your finances by trusting God first. And
Okay.
I've seen that happen in my life, so I believe that
Yep.
maybe looking at what they're giving.
I agree. I agree. Now, let's giving 10%, that's the guideline here, would be $550 a month. Let's suppose they're not quite there yet. They want to go up, but some people may have to go out there gradually. So let's increase that to $400 a month, but that's double what they're giving. Go ahead.
How about trying for a cheaper vacation or not going for a couple of years?
I agree. I agree. So you go back here. They're going to have to do some staycations. They're going to have to drive. There are staycations where you can stay at home and just drive. So let's say we reduce that to $400 a year. They just go and they just, wherever they can drive, just for day trips or whatever.
Okay, they better cut out that gift thing that they have going on too.
Okay.
Or they reduce it or something like that. But
I agree. Okay, let's say
they might find other strategies where
we'll
they
reduce
don't
that to
have
$500
to.
a month. $500 a year,
And
rather.
go
Okay.
back.
What else? Yeah.
Yeah, go back. They need to save for their retirement.
Agreed.
Investment. There's nothing in for the kids.
Yep.
And
I agree.
all right, I'll give somebody else a
But
chance.
before I put that in there, I want to get them, they got to get a positive monthly cash flow. But your point's well
You're
taken,
right.
Carol.
The clothing, try some recycling, go to Salvation Army, do what you have
Yeah,
to
I
do.
think clothing can be cut down on a lot.
Yeah,
How much can we put it at?
$20.
I'll go with 50. Okay. What about anything in the housing category? Mortgage we can't change unless they downsize their house, which sometimes we sit down with couples and that's actually something they have to do. They trim every other area out, and if you trim every other area out of your budget, and you still have a negative cash flow, you're spending more than you're making. You're probably going to have to downsize your house. Go ahead. But there's some things that could be done, like hydro. We could get better.
That's what I was going to say.
Yep.
It should reflect whether or not they have 1 fridge or 2 fridge, and do they
Yep.
need it, stuff like that.
You could cut back on the utilities. You can be careful with that.
Yes, they can dry their clothes in the lawn, in the basement if they do have one,
Yeah.
or outside on the line in the summer or something like that.
And the maintenance, the husband could do more of the work and contract less. He's got to get off his duff. Okay?
I think the wife was making $1,300 a month, and that, looking at that, if she's gonna only bring in $1,300, she probably can bring in a little more
Yep.
if she wants to, because if we cut the car expense, we're cutting more than $1,300. So
Yep.
if her car is gonna cost her $1,300 and her job is gonna cost her,
Yep.
give her just, $1,300, then maybe she should just stay at home and don't have the car.
Let's say they one way is increase your income. It could be another job or increase your income. But let's say we could increase that by $400 a month, either her or him. That helps. That's one thing to keep track of. Okay, so here's the good news. Before we had a deficit of $800 and some odd a month. In a matter of 10 minutes here, they now have a surplus. That's the key. You see how easy this is now? It is a lot easier to tell someone else to cut than to you. But it's a lot easier. But do you see how fast that was? But what I find is if you don't know well the condition of your herds and flocks and grains, if you don't know your finances, if you don't know where your money's going, you can't do this. You're not going to be able to figure this out. If you don't have a budget, you're not going to be able to figure it out. By the way, as you track your expenses, and if you're married, your husband tracks his, you show it to each other. Because one thing is people track their own expenses and they have to see it. They tend to spend less. But if their spouse is going to see it, they spend even further less. And it's a good thing. And it's husband and wives need to work together on this. This is the key. Now with $859 of positive cash flow per month, they can pay off the credit cards, they can pay down debt, they can start saving for retirement, as Carol suggested, and kids' education. If you have a positive monthly cash flow, you can do something with that. If you have no monthly cash flow, if you've got a negative, you're going to just continuously, over and over again, go further and further into debt. You're going to have to go to the bank every 2 or 3 years and upward refinance on your home, and eventually the bubble's going to burst. Something's going to go wrong.